What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Run Your Mouth Podcast. It is an honor to be here with you guys this evening for a nice little evening broadcast, the Run Your Mouth Podcast. Before we get into the episode, I got a guest. We're going to go even deeper on everybody's favorite topic. We're just call him AJ. You know, like how Jesus Christ, they just started going with JC, nice and condensed. So, you know, we're not the name that shouldn't be spoken. It's like living in the world of Harry Potter. You can't even speak the guy's name. You know, they might know that you're talking about. Next thing you know, your YouTube channels are being pulled, which, by the way, I'm letting you guys know that this episode is not going to be in full being streamed to YouTube, mostly because they censor me. And I already have strikes on these channels, and it's really annoying. So when it gets to the point when I know that this is no longer safe for YouTube, I recommend going over to Twitter or that you can pick this up tomorrow because you know, even if you watch on YouTube, just subscribe to the channel. You know, do the things that I'm supposed to plug, the likes, the 5 stars, comment on other people's comments, tell people that this is the Anti-Defamation Podcast, tell your friends. All right, you know, I was trying to just plug a sponsor, and then I'm already ranting. My guest is just looking at me like I thought we were ready to start. So, Sheath Underwear. It's the summer, and I know how hot and sweaty your balls are. This is the number. This is the month where you got to show up and you got to upgrade your underwear stash. I know how much your balls stink. Your wife's been emailing me. Your girlfriend's been telling me, hey, can you plug the Sheath Underwear again? I haven't heard it on the last 2 episodes, and my boyfriend, his balls stink, and he needs to do something about it. And I can't bring up this conversation. It's a little bit much. You know, it's a newer relationship. I've let it go a little bit too long. And I like sucking nuts. It's something I enjoy. I would like to suck on his nuts, but they're just too foul. So if somebody could create a better underwear where, you know, his dick's not up against his nuts all day, so it's not getting all sweaty and it's separated from his legs, I would feel more comfortable in this relationship. And you're the person I'm talking to. The person right now who's wondering if that was your girlfriend that emailed me, it's you. You should be self-conscious about your nuts. And so you know how you fix this? You go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code RYM, you get 20% off, and you can save your nuts this summer. Don't be out there all hot and sweaty. And Summer Porch Store is in session, Michigan, this weekend. We're out in a beautiful farm. I'm bringing the Shedcast guys. We're doing the Smoke Out, Bug Out preliminaries, live concert, me doing stand-up, and I already got a great live podcast planned. Then we've got DC, Maryland, Reading, PA. Come follow the tour. All 3 shows, they're going to be a little bit different. Those are going to be a fucking party show. I got a great lineup of comics, and then we're closing out the tour in Denver. Okay, now for today's episode, I'm only going to mention the name once, just in case you guys didn't know what we're talking about. It's the Alex Jones Special Part 2. I know from doing the live show, not everyone was as alarmed about the Alex Jones topic as I was. I believe I even convinced the live crowd why they should be alarmed about this, and I bet some of you at home were like, oh yeah, this actually is concerning. You cannot find those materials anywhere, or at least I didn't. I didn't really do a full search. So I don't know to what extent Alex Jones was even talking about Sandy Hook. I don't know to what extent he was telling his fans to show up in those yards and to protest those actors. I don't know because I didn't watch it. But you know who does know? A certain individual left the Brooklyn area, got himself out of there, changed his name from CPU God to CPU Dog because he's been censored as well. You get it. You start telling people that they got to be nervous about COVID passports, and the world comes after you. They go, we can't. That's what we're trying to create new world orders for. We can't have little Jew faces that look like Jerry Garcia ruining our evil, diabolical plans. Welcome to the show, CPU Dog, who's here because you have the Alex Jones Theater. You're an Alex Jones fan, and you're the keeper of the Alex Jones Archive.
Yeah, man, it's been quite a thing recording with you lately. You really bring out the worst in me. We're, Hunter Biden and now this. But very happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me again.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell people about your life's work as being an Alex Jones archivist, and the Alex Jones Theater? Give it a plug. This is a real endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. I will just switch right over to that. Oh, can you turn on my presentation?
Absolutely.
All right. So for those of you who are on the video and can see, this is the Alex Jones Theater. It is just this little website where I host private events at my space in Bon Aqua, Tennessee. For me, Alex Jones isn't so much a person who I admire because of the content he makes or because of his aesthetic or how he behaves. It's because of how he handled himself as a person in the media business. Somebody who never really compromised and never let other people saying no to him ever really be a reason to not do something. I actually didn't always like Alex Jones. I kind of thought he was annoying and gave Ron Paul a bad name when he was running back in 2008. And I felt really offended by this idea that this guy wanted to discredit Ron Paul. But, I did some growing and some living. And now, of course, I live near a bunch of people who are a lot like Alex Jones. And I know better now that he has done a very good thing for the world, and I'm saddened to see what happened to him
All right,
recently
so
with the
so,
court
so
case.
let's start with that in
Sure.
defense of Alex Jones, because I listen, I don't like or dislike Alex Jones. Like, there's certain people, there's a lot of media out there. We've all consumed. It's just not something I consumed a lot of to be a fan or not a fan. That doesn't make him good or bad. You know what I mean? Sometimes people like think like you're giving a review. Like, I'm not. I'm not giving an endorsement. I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying there's people that grew up with him, listen to him all the time. He was not part of. I listened to Howard Stern, Opie, and Anthony as a kid. Like that. That was kind of my radar. It was the New York stuff. So in defense of Alex Jones, people do like to say that for all the nonsense, there's some really big topics that this guy has gotten correct. So
Yes.
give us the top level defense of Alex Jones. What are some of like even the big themes that he's educated the listeners on, or just some of like the things that he had unbelievable accuracy on?
Well, sure. I mean, so just before I talk about specific instances, I think still the very big learning that we can all get from Alex Jones is really more how he conducts himself as opposed to the stuff that he has talked about, which is why I started the Alex Jones Theater. The idea was to provide a feeling of completely earned endorsement. Whereas I'm not really the biggest fan of Alex Jones, but I love the idea of fostering people like that at my space in Bon Aqua, Tennessee. And so when it comes to the specific things, right, that he's gotten right, I actually really view him as somebody who's gotten almost a 100% accurate view on foreign policy. With respect to predicting most of the major shifts in geopolitical events, as well as getting it on the right side of the moral question. In just about no circumstance can I think of Alex Jones having ever advocated for something other than a non-interventionist foreign policy, just like the people that we respect and follow every day. So I think, one of the biggest things that we could look to is one of the earliest clips I have in my archive of Alex Jones, which is coming to us from July of 2001.
So before we press play, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna chance the algorithm here because I'm seeing outrage here by the fans. They're telling me just get a new channel, burn it down. What are you doing that you won't just go live? Dude, I'm the most anti-censorship person. I'm the most not give a fuck person, but it's just going to be annoying for me to have to reorganize the content that exists on these channels. It's just annoying. So here's the plan for today's show. Everybody in the chat getting all upset with me, move over to Twitter. We're going to play this last video. And before we comment on it, I'm going to come down from the YouTube channels. The reason I went up live here is because people that consume the content on YouTube, I've heard people on the Rob's Newsroom channel asking why things are on the Fire channel, why they're. I'm letting you guys know the reason why sometimes it goes to one and not the other is because I can't post it to one of them at some given junctures in time. And so if you're a consumer on YouTube, you should follow both channels. And if you never want to miss an episode, just make sure that you actually subscribe on iTunes. I know that it's video only. Spotify does get the videos. That's enough of the technical talk on the channels. It's not the most exciting thing. I just want to keep people in the loop. I feel like a tour guide. I'm like a tour guide of my content. I don't even like tour guides. I'm like, just shut the fuck up and show me this stuff. So with that being said, I hand it back to you, Andrew, if you want to show us a young Alex Jones, full head of hair, doesn't look nearly as bearish or, quite the maniac he is now. So, maybe the culture turned him into that.
Well, I would say it's possible. I mean, I'll just say this, man. At this point in time, he was the same age as me. I'm 32, and if you look at the two of us, boy, I mean, he really did drop a long way, and he looks like a pretty young 32. I'll give him that credit. Here he is, a strapping young man who had a lot of interesting things to say right before 9/11 happened.
For this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast, tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had. And that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system.
So this is pre 9/11, him telling you a 9/11 is going to go down and it's going to be Osama bin Laden.
That's right. And he even makes the special claim that most other people can't make these days, that the government did it and that Osama bin Laden would be at most a patsy.
All right, we're coming down from YouTube before I lose the channels. Everyone enjoy what you can on Twitter. Here we go. First channel coming down. And then hold on one second.